So last year at GTAC, the Google Test Automation Conference, I did a lightning talk on a kind of an idea that I've had for a while. And I wanted to see if it was a feasible idea, if it was a stupid idea, come push it out there and see what other automators thought of it. And the idea was to, while your tests are running, to generate a heat map. And then store this heat map so that you have some form of coverage of what Selenium's doing on a page while the tests are running. Because currently, like, when we think about, like, if someone comes up to us, a manager, a client, whatever, goes, I want to see the coverage of my tests. What is it? And we normally turn around and go, I can't. It's just impossible. But I can show you all my tests, and I can show you all my code and everything, but realistically, you kind of just need to take my word for it that we're doing the right thing. It's just kind of the way it is, because we're working at such an abstract level when we were using Selenium that it's so high that to prove the coverage of everything starts becoming quite hard. Web applications are so different nowadays, you know, there's rich, like doing all these rich applications to it. It suddenly makes it very difficult. So, what if we could... Anyway, so what if we could then generate kind of a heat map? Every time Selenium was working on a page, it would then figure out what's on the page, keep track of it, and then generate a heat map. So a heat map, for those who don't know, is what user experience people like to use to see where people are clicking, how often they're clicking, and generate, you know, kind of where users are using your application. This is very important for user experience, because then you know, like, if no one's clicking this button, we can remove it because it's just taking up valuable space. So if we translated that idea, we could put it into Selenium. And the idea is, my idea is fairly simple, and it kind of just splits where everything is. So in Selenium, it should be extremely possible. If you're using WebDriver has, because of the way it's structured, you have your driver object, which allows you to find the elements, you have your web elements. Web element has a number of really useful methods on it that most people don't care about. But two of those methods are finding the size of the element that you're working with and its location on the page. And this is not just the viewport. So, like, if you have a tiny screen and you've got a very long page, it will, you know, it won't just say it's somewhere down there, but we don't know. It'll actually tell you from the top of the page down where the element is. And Selenium WebDriver knows how to take screenshots. And that's the most important bit, because pages are changing, we need to do all this, and we need to kind of merge all this information that we start collecting. Because we start generating, like, if you start doing this properly, you'll be generating lots of data very, very quickly. So what do we need to create? This is my first attempt at it, and I thought, well, it's simple. We just need to override find elements, web elements, and just work with that. Realistically, it's not that easy, because there's certain aspects of the actual driver that we need to override, and we need to override pretty much the two major parts of Selenium, the driver and the web element. And what we need to be doing is every time an action happens on the page, we need to take a screenshot. That's easy enough. When you've overridden it. But the difficult part now comes in is that if we're taking screenshots a lot, and if you, like, the new trend nowadays is to create web applications that are just one page, and every time you click a button you just move further down or further back up or whatever. That seems to be the new trend. but you don't know roughly where you are, like in all these things. So you need to take screenshots. And if you have you click a button and suddenly a div appears that's it's expecting user input, you need to take a screenshot. And the way to now handle all these screenshots is we need to just apply some form of heuristic. Do we actually need screenshots all the time, like every single action? And I mean every single action is like if you're typing, you do it. Every time you click a button, you do it. Every time you run an element, you do it, because something could have happened that you weren't realizing, and you need to take a screenshot of it. And then you need to do histogram differences between the two images. A histogram will tell you how big is the difference between image A and image B. If it's within a threshold, I haven't got specific details of it yet because I need to work on it a bit more. But my initial feeling for it is going to be if the page is changed by about 10% of the page, you could probably throw it away. You don't need that image. It's not valuable enough because nowadays it's all about big buttons and big text areas and things like that. So 10% change, you don't really care. It could just be an icon suddenly appeared or that we weren't expecting. We don't need to worry about it, and we just carry on through that. What I also need to create, because this is running during your tests, we need to split the tests between, split the information. So the test runner shouldn't be generating heap maps, because if the test runner generates the heap maps, it's going to take a lot of processing power. We want our tests to be running as quickly as possible. So by having a test runner push all the data that it collects over a test run to another machine, that machine can then process it. And it can just be a web server, so that you go to it and go, I'd like to look at this build, this Jenkins or whatever ran it. So you have your build ID, you have you can see when tests pass, fail, and then you just go, right, I'd like to see my heap map now. And because you've separated the two concerns, your tests will run as quickly as possible. Obviously they'll be slower now because they're doing extra checks, like getting the location, getting size, taking screenshots. But once that's done, it'll just be going on. So doing this would add about, depending on the test suite, probably about an extra 20% time to it. But for the gain that you get back and being able to show managers, clients, whatever, that you've got this coverage, it's kind of worth it. And then obviously, if you have any questions, please come ask them. Ask afterwards.
Yeah.